My name is Rachel Palmer. I'm 37. And just last week, I attended a professional gala where I was being honored for my contributions to research and education. It was a night I'd been looking forward to for weeks, celebration of everything I'd worked so hard to build, but as fate would have it, the moment I stepped into the restroom to catch my breath, I came face to face with someone I hadn't seen in almost 15 years. My mother. She was standing at the sink, reapplying her lipstick, looking every bit the wealthy socialite she'd always been. For a second, I thought maybe she wouldn't recognize me, but then her eyes flicked up to the mirror and met my reflection. Her hand paused mid-motion, her jaw clenched. "Rachel," she said, her voice cold and formal, like we'd just run into each other at a country club instead of a bathroom after over a decade of silence. "I didn't expect to see you here." I steadied myself, fingers tightening around the edge of my clutch. "I could say the same," I replied, keeping my tone even. "What brings you here?" She turned toward me, posture as stiff as ever. "Your father and I were invited. Of course, we've always supported organizations that promote education. And I'm being honored tonight," I told her, meeting her eyes, "for my work and research." Her face barely changed, but I caught the smallest flicker of surprise in her expression before she masked it. "I see," she said, turning back to the mirror. "Well, I suppose everyone finds their way eventually." Those words pulled me back to the day I walked out of their house for the final time. I was 19 then. High school had been roughy, struggled with depression, but in our home, that wasn't something you admitted to. What on earth do you have to be sad about? My mother had once snapped when I tried to open up. "You have everything, more than most kids your age. You're just making excuses." The truth was, I was drowning. The pressure to be perfect to live up to the Palmer name was suffocating. I tried to keep up, but my grades slipped junior year, and by senior year, I was barely holding it together. Too. My parents, I wasn't a child in pain. I was a disappointment. When I only got into a community college, my father lost it. "This family has standards," he said, pacing the living room as I clutched my acceptance letter. "And you've done nothing but drag us down. If you want to waste your life, fine, but do it on your own." I was kicked out that night. I remember how heavy my duffel bag felt, not just with clothes, but with the weight of being completely alone. Neither of them even came to the door. My mother remained seated on the couch, eyes on her phone. My father disappeared into his study. I felt invisible, discarded, like I'd never truly belonged in that house. For a while, I crashed with a friend, sleeping on her pull-out couch, while I tried to figure out what was next. Community college wasn't glamorous, but it was something I could control. I picked up a part-time job at a diner to cover tuition and rent. Eventually, I scraped together enough to rent a tiny studio. It was exhausting balancing classes, work, and a constant feeling of failure, but being away from them gave me something I hadn't had in years: space to breathe. My first year at community college was a blur of late-night study sessions and endless diner shifts. I chose to study chemistry partly because I liked it, and partly to prove, maybe to myself, that I could thrive in something difficult. I still remember my first chemistry exam. I studied relentlessly, memorizing every reaction and formula. When the professor handed it back, I was scared to look. But there it was, a 92%. Not perfect, but mine. I had earned it. That moment felt like the first real step toward rebuilding. That as the years passed, I grew in ways I hadn't imagined. College was tough, but I learned how to fight for what I wanted. By the time I earned my associate's degree, I wasn't just a student, I was someone who had carved out her own place in the world. I transferred to a 4-year university, and though challenges remained, I kept going. The insecure girl who barely made it through high school was now confidently explaining complex scientific concepts. Chemistry wasn't just a subject anymore, it became my passion. I no longer wanted to just because I wanted to excel. I still worked part-time, but also landed internships at research labs. Those opened doors I never thought possible. Eventually, I became a lead researcher at a nonprofit that focused on advancing science education. Graduating with my bachelor's degree should have been triumphant. But when the day came, my parents never called. No, congratulations! No questions about what was next. They had wealth, power, status. My father ran a massive fertilizer company. They hosted lavish parties, socialized with politicians, but they never took interest in me unless it was to criticize. Even after graduating with honors, I didn't exist to them. The only one who came to my ceremony was Aunt Lydia, my mom's younger sister, the family's black sheep, while my parents shunned her for being too eccentric. She had always been kind to me. Every birthday, she called. She showed up when no one else did. "You did it, kid," she said, wrapping me in a hug. "I'm so proud of you." She reminded me that family doesn't have to mean perfection, that love can come from the unlikeliest places. A few months later, as I was finishing a research project, one of my professors, Dr. Collins, pulled me aside. He had a passion for chemistry like it was sacred. "Rachel," he said, "I've been in touch with colleagues at Oxford University. They have a research opportunity in environmental chemistry. I think you'd be a perfect fit." At first, I thought he was joking. Oxford, me, but he was serious. "Don't let fear hold you back," he told me. "You've earned this." I applied, not expecting anything. The process was brutal, but weeks later, an email arrived. "We are pleased to inform you." I was awarded a research grant at Oxford. I didn't tell anyone except Aunt Lydia. I asked her to keep it to herself. I didn't want anyone trying to find me or drag me back into their world. I boarded a plane to England with just a backpack and the faint hope that I could finally be who I was meant to be. Oxford was hard new country. New culture, total isolation, but I buried myself in the work. I earned my master's, then pursued a PhD in environmental chemistry. After years of research, sleepless nights, and pushing forward, I earned that doctorate. And then, something I never imagined, a professorship at Cambridge. I was teaching, mentoring, and contributing to meaningful research. The girl who'd been thrown away had become a respected voice in her field, but a part of me always wondered, did they know? Did they ever think about me? Which brings me back to that gala. That moment in the bathroom, and later when I took the stage. Rachel Palmer, the host, announced, "Honored for groundbreaking contributions to sustainable chemistry and education." The applause was deafening, but to me, it felt far away. Then came the real shock. In recognition of this work, a generous anonymous donor has pledged a $2 million grant to support the recipient's research, and then the donor is Mosaic Fertilizers, my father's company. I froze. The very man who disowned me was the one funding the award that recognized my life's work. As the crowd clapped, I spotted him near the exit. He stood. Our eyes met. Then he turned and walked out. The man who cast me out couldn't even stay to watch me succeed. I left the stage and followed him outside. "Dad," I called. He turned, face twisted in disgust. "What is it now, Rachel? Think I'm going to congratulate you?" I stood my ground. "I never asked for your money or your approval. I earned this." His voice turned colder. "You're still the failure I kicked out." I stared at him. "That doesn't matter anymore. I've built a life without you." The next morning, I made a decision. I donated the entire $2 million grant to fund scholarships for underprivileged students because I didn't need his money or his legacy. I had created my own